Today we have a crazy entitled parent story of someone lying to use somebody as an example to their kid. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, mother thinks she's entitled to my family. Long story, when I, 24-year-old female, was 2, I was adopted by my half-brother's dad, 65-year-old male, because my mother, 51-year-old female, was in prison all my childhood due to taking drugs and stealing, and my dad did everything for me to not have the lifestyle my birth mother has, and has been single this whole time due to raising us, and I don't know my birth father. I got back in contact with birth mother at age 13, and she still drank and dabbled with drugs. Her influence on me was scary because I didn't want to turn out like her. When I slept over at hers, she would be drunk and get in my face while I laid in bed at 1 a.m. whispering, "You bench, I know you've stolen my gold ring." Like, what the freak? Then she would leave the room and scream saying she didn't want me, she wanted my older sister, 25-year-old female, who was raised by her birth father. Like, that was crazy to me to wake up to that. Now I'm married and we have a daughter together. My husband, 26-year-old male, doesn't want her around our child because he says she's toxic and manipulative and will have a bad influence on the family, and I agree. I told her why I don't want my daughter around her and how she influenced me as a teenager, and I don't want that for my daughter. She always has an excuse and never just admits that she made a mistake. It's always someone else's fault. Or she doesn't remember the things I remember, like when I was 2, I thought she was dead on the sofa, but now I'm older, I realized she was high on H. Her mindset is victim blaming the world for her choices, and she turns everything toxic, saying she would never choose a man over her mother, but I'm choosing the family I created in a healthy lifestyle. I feel like I could be the butt for not wanting contact with her. She's hurt me and affected my mental health, and whenever we speak, she'll offer me money or suggest we meet, and when I refuse money, she gets angry and gives me the silent treatment. I'm hurt and I don't want to feel responsible for her life and how she could influence my choices as a parent. She feels entitled to my daughter and feels entitled to me and my brothers, 22-year-old male and 20-year-old male. They're both really successful now thanks to how my dad raised us. And she says she pushed us out and gave us life when really it's thanks to my dad that they both got good jobs, even though he struggled doing everything on his own. We can't speak without it turning into manipulation and toxicness, so I've decided to cut all contact for my own health and my family. I wish she could have been normal, and I don't like the things she says about my dad. She'll blame him for her not being there for growing up and tells me he isn't my dad just because we're not blood related, and she blames my husband for me not wanting her around when she made her life choices. Once I got married and pregnant with my daughter, she was saying things like she's going to have a baby at the age of 50, and things that a grandmother wouldn't say. When I was a teenager, I felt sorry for her, felt for her being the victim, but since having my daughter and growing up, I can see her for what she is. She would slag my husband off, hoping I would join in, but it made me hate her, to be honest. She also tries to lie to me about her age, and I tell her, "Why would you lie?" And she says because she still looks young and has periods, and it's just all confusing to me why that's what she would want to talk about when I just had a daughter. Ultimately, the important thing is doing what's best for your mental health and the health of your family. And for somebody like this that is very easily and willing to drag other people down, it probably does mean cutting them off, either going low contact or no contact altogether. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy these crazy entitled parent stories, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, I'm starting to hate my mother. This is kind of an update post from yesterday. Yes, my edit was right, we don't have a place to stay, but I found out the whole truth and it wasn't from my mother. I, trans male 16, was babysitting my then baby stepbrother. I was upset that my day off from work was ruined due to babysitting, but this time I was getting paid $20 for it, which was weird because usually I never get paid. I called my mom to figure out if we had baby formula, and then she broke the truth. She told me she was going to help her friend Zara with her baby appointment and then go to work. But she lied, she was on a date to an amusement park. I was already stressed out, but then I broke down crying because I couldn't feed the baby or myself. I started hallucinating. It was probably from lack of sleep or the stress or my mental issues, but I called her again. She pretended not to hear me, so I called her now official ex, Sammy. Sammy didn't know she was even gone or that I was babysitting. She thought my mother was home, and I was sleeping in like they agreed to let me do the day before. She got upset and mad, made my mom come from the date early and pick her up with the only car we all have. They got into a fight because Sammy was ticked she was lied to and that I stressed out so much I broke down around the baby. She told my mom she can't do this no more and that my mom needs to start looking for a new place because she will too. She never said we had to leave that night, and she said she was even helping my mom find a new place for me and my little siblings. My mom, being my mother, hit on her and then yelled and texted me saying we were kicked out and "I'm sorry, I wanted a day to myself, pack your crap." That didn't help me, and I cried till I went mute and unable to show an expression. I felt like I caused everything to happen and was planning to end things, but then my boss called me. She was worried and helped me through everything. Once I told her the story, she said I never caused a thing and that my mom did this. I really do wish my boss was my mom. She's more of a mother to me than my actual mom. She talked to me till we both had a plan. She's going to help me get my driver's license, and then I'll get more hours and find a studio apartment to live in, since I guess at 16 you can legally do that. I never knew, but she validated this all. She was going to help me as much as possible. I want a regular apartment, but that's way too much for me, and so a studio is cheaper, and my siblings can visit me still. I talked to Sammy, and she said that she was still going to help my mom find a place for her and my siblings and me temporarily, but that she still can't live like this with my mother and she and the baby has to get away. I understood, and I was also helping. My mom's been lying to me and even lied to my little siblings so that they can hate Sammy. She's made Sammy to be a villain even though she housed and fed us. I hate that my mom ruined everything and yet everyone is taking her side. I hope in the future my siblings will know the truth, but for now, I'm the only one around her that doesn't believe her. I really hate her. She's changed. She's not my mother. She's acting like a stranger who gets high and addicted to cigarettes. She's getting back with her alcoholic girlfriend to have more fun. I know my siblings can't live like this, so I'll be silently getting my stuff together and then calling CPS and trying to get my siblings with me. I hope and pray my mom changes for the better, but I know it will never happen. She'll end up sad and alone, regretting everything. Honestly, I think people like this, either they learn and realize how they're acting, or they're going to tear down pretty much everything around them until there pretty much isn't anything left to tear down. When you're involved with people like this, I think you have to just know at some point to try to protect yourself as best as you can. Our next story is parents hire detectives on me. I'm in my late 20s, I live on my own and have my own car. My parents are super strict and made me miss out on the college experience, which I'm still bitter about. I come from a family of extroverted people such as my cousin, who's also accomplished career-wise, but still throws parties with around 70 people, responsibly. She got to have the whole exciting college experience, involving large social events and pursuit of creative passions, and now has fun alongside her career. She also wrote and starred in her own musicals, and I have a similar passion for acting that I've never gotten to pursue. I got the similar genes of being fun-loving, creatively passionate, and wanting to enjoy my life. I moved out at 25 to make up for what I've missed out, or at least enjoy my current freedom. The years after moving out have been the best years of my life. However, my parents still make me feel restricted. They literally hired detectives to remotely tap into my phone and read my text messages. They found out I was staying over at a friend's house, one of their rules is to never stay over at someone's house, and got so mad that they threatened to show up to the friend's house to tell her to leave me alone. They're also tracking my car because they know when I'm out late and scold me for it. I can probably find the tracker and remove it, but the detective part worries me since they're able to do this without a tracker. I guess I'm venting and asking, how do I get them to stop this? Should I threaten to reduce in-person time with them from once a week to every 2 weeks? They got really mad when I suggested that before because even with weekly visits, they miss me too much. I feel sad because I'm missing out socially and romantically as they still manage to enforce their rules of don't go out after sunset, which is 5:30 p.m., don't sleep over, and don't go out on weekdays to focus on work. I would love to meet and organically form a romantic connection with someone, but my opportunity to meet people is restricted since after work, weekend times after dark, and the once a week day they see me, since they occupy the daylight hours, are off limits for socializing. OP's in their late 20s, they live on their own, and they have their own car, and they're allowing their parents to do this to them? Like at that point, I'm sorry, but the only person you have to blame, the only thing you have to blame is yourself for allowing that to happen. And in fact, if they've got like detectives following you around and whatnot, I would say if it's serious enough, go for a restraining order. Take control of your life before it's too late. Our next story is begging me, 26-year-old female, to come back home. I left home about a week and a half ago. The first day, my family called me like crazy. I had only left a message and I didn't answer. I only texted them. They were so insistent in me telling them where I was and to talk things through. I didn't go no contact because I still wanted and want them to be a part of my life. I want both things. I want freedom, but I also want my family. But they kept on insisting that I go back and not do something I might regret, like not coming back home where it's safe and secure. I agreed to visit their apartment in the city during the day because we live in a very small town, with the condition that I go back to my apartment at night. Every time I say goodnight, my mom starts crying, and my sister tells me I should think about them, not just me, and to not be so selfish. After many attempts on my part after I left, they were willing to work things out and come to an agreement. But I don't want to come to an agreement. I want my full freedom. I don't want to go back because I know that I wouldn't have the freedom I have now. They promised to give me full freedom and autonomy as long as I go back and live with them, and have also suggested moving into their apartment, but with my mom and sister accompanying me, I just don't believe it. And again, I know that I wouldn't have the freedom I have now. We started seeing a psychiatrist, and I told him that one of my non-negotiables was moving back in with them, and that I didn't know how they were going to handle the news, because they were really hoping that I would, and that I couldn't possibly be such a selfish person. My siblings have said that family comes first, and that they're the only ones that would be there if I ever need them, unlike friends. But why then am I not being supported with this decision? Why has it caused so much chaos? I understand it's natural for parents to worry, and I know they mean well, but I refuse to be controlled. I truly don't understand why I can't have both. Why do I have to choose one or the other? I need to give them an answer, and my answer is one they're not going to like. I know I'm going to be casted off the community and that they'll suffer, but what about me? Am I selfish? My question is, what do they get out of it? Like, does OP do a lot of housework? Does OP contribute to a lot of bills or pay for a lot of things for them? I'm just trying to understand why they're so insistent on trying to keep control of OP. Are they just lonely? They live their lives through OP? Whatever it is, it's totally understandable that OP doesn't want to go back, and that, yeah, it's pretty clear it's kind of a trap. You go back there and they're going to try to control you even harder than they are already. This next story is, I, 20-year-old male, left home to stop my mom manipulating me and to help my mental health. I, 20-year-old male, moved out of home 2 weeks ago, even though financially I'm not doing the best, but my mental health couldn't take it anymore. 2023 was a rough year for me where I started suffering from anxiety badly, to the point that I had to go to emergency a few times, thinking I was dying from a heart attack. Then for 3 months I didn't have a home. I had to live between my grandpas and my sisters. I lived with my older brother and mom before, and they both got to stay at one, but I had to live between since there wasn't much room. As this happens, I struggle with university as I go through all these transitions. I started seeing a counselor who has helped me realize some things about my mom. My mom is terrible with money. She doesn't work since she's had a lot of surgeries, so she relies off of money from others. She gets paid from the government for disability and money from my dad to support her, but she also gets this money from my dad that's a court order to pay for my needs, which she did use mostly for my needs and paid for my rent and food, as well as my car and phone plan. But she also got my youth allowance, which is supposed to be a payment I get to support me while I study full-time and can't work as much. So the only money I earn is from a fast food place. I don't despise mom for money and stuff. I get she's gone through a lot, and I'm not greedy for money as much as I need it to start saving. However, she manages to waste all this money getting things she doesn't need or likes to buy me and my siblings stuff to make herself feel good. My family have told her how bad her spending habits are and how she needs to stop spending so much. She constantly borrows money off her family, me, my sister, my brother, my grandpa, and even my sister's partner. She owes all of us multiple thousands of dollars. But she still wastes money on buying house products and everyone gifts to show her love. She is so insecure that she even asks me and my siblings, "I'm such a good mom, aren't I?" And we say yes, and if we try to avoid it, she'll just ask again. We've tried saying that it would be better on something we need, but she doesn't listen. She's also lazy when it comes to organizing food where she wants to do it. She only makes a list daily and in the afternoon when no one wants to go, and it's usually me since my brother works every weekday, and I tell her constantly why not a big shop or send a list earlier. But she doesn't listen. I've even tried helping organize dinners, but she still didn't listen. She isn't helping herself, which is screwing everyone over, but she's manipulative and is able to get everything out of everyone. She guilt trips us, bringing up things she does and how she does everything in the house, which she forces herself to do since she doesn't let anyone else do so. She always becomes a victim with everything to the point where she ends up having a go at you if you want to talk about a problem to her. Which has always happened to me, but she refuses to believe it, which has happened to me since high school, and I just have been sad around home since, for the most part. I'm 20, and I feel like my life is going nowhere and I have no savings and only a small amount of money, so I started seeing a counselor, and she's helped me see how my life has been and is trying to provide some sort of solutions. But also to see my mom is manipulative and insecure, and if she can't get control over something, then she gets mad. I'm curious how the youth allowance and whatever governmental money OP's supposed to get is actually dished out. Does it touch her hands first? Like, is it something that OP literally cannot, give up to her? Or is it something that's supposed to go to a bank account that OP can control? Because if so, I think the first step would be not giving her all of that money and allowing her to really retain all that control. I think it would be starting to try to exert a little bit more authority over that kind of stuff. Our next story is, why does my mom not want to act like a mom? I, trans male 16, have been upset seeing that my mom is trying to basically throw me and my younger siblings to the side so she can party. I have a job and she thinks that means I'll buy her and her friends $5 to $20 ice cream, chips, snacks, and other foods just because. Her friend, I'll call Zara, basically becomes attached to my mom's hips. They're together 24/7. When they come up to my job to pick me up, they act like teenagers. They ruin the shelves I put up and are loud. It's embarrassing. My mom says she never has money, so I've been buying food to make sure we eat. But once she wants cigarettes, weed, vapes, or to go to the Orlando amusement park, she has so much money. Me and her now ex-girlfriend Sammy are taking care of my younger siblings and Sammy's baby. My mom just sleeps occasionally, works, fights with anyone, and goes to parties and smokes with her friend Zara. I don't even have a chance to talk about my day or anything because she's either mad she has to watch us or is out somewhere and I'm getting ready for work. I've had to pick up more hours than what a normal 16-year-old works so I can afford my own bills, help with gas, and make sure my siblings have everything they need. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind helping with gas and buying some meals here and there, but I don't want to do it so often to where I have $20 to $40 left for my own needs. On an average week, I make $500, and a lot of it goes to them because we need it. When I tell her to, at most, stop smoking cigarettes because we can't afford it and I don't want to see her in an early grave, she gets mad saying I'm ruining her life and that I just want her to be a basic housewife/mom. I don't though. I don't mind if she drank or smoked weed and goes out, but she does it every day to the point where I'm picking up her slack. I'm tired and I just want sleep. I don't even get a day off to sleep. On my day offs from work, I babysit all day while she runs around town. Just today, she said she had a doctor's appointment, but when I called her to ask for some baby formula, she was at an amusement park again with Zara. She lied to hand the baby off to me on my only day off this week. I've been up since 6 a.m. with the baby while she gets to have fun. I'm so jealous and angry. I don't have any friends my age and I don't get the privilege of running around doing whatever. I just put the baby asleep and I'm so tired. I'm babysitting and I bought them some expensive gelato or whatever but ice cream to only get $35. They asked me to buy it and to babysit for basically nothing. And I bet I will never see that money because she never pays me since we're family, it's what we do. Am I just selfish for wanting her to help? She makes me feel like I am. Edit 1. I got us kicked out of Sammy's house. I was hallucinating, probably from lack of sleep or from my mental issues, but it happened. I freaked out and called my mom, but she didn't help or even listen to me, so I called Sammy. She made my mom pick her up and drive to me. Sammy didn't know about the secret trip she took today, so they fought and I got us kicked out. I'ma be honest, my mom blames me. I blame me and I don't know what to do. I kinda wanna end things now. I tried so hard not to do this, but I ruin everything. It's all my fault. So I'm not sure if this is just another day or a rephrasing of the earlier story that OP shared, but I mean, it just kind of highlights again that OP has to stop giving in and allowing her to be like this. I mean, who's the parent in this situation? OP should be the one not listening to anybody and going out to amusement parks and doing stuff. getting in trouble, not the parents. Our next story is unfair will to children. Okay, I refuse to fight over things, and I won't with this. However, I'm curious to know your opinion on a parent, 70-year-old male, who leaves more, including their house, in their will to the unsuccessful kid, 40-year-old female, justifying it by saying, she needs more help than you, 33-year-old female, and your brother, 43-year-old male, do. Does this seem ridiculous to anyone else? Why are the responsible kids being penalized? I know my parents get to make their own choices, but this seems so odd to me and even unfair for a lack of a better term. I'm a mother myself now and fully plan to split equally despite who is better off later on. Thoughts? Advice? I mean, when it comes to wills, really, you have to just accept what you get, and if you get anything from your parents, you should be grateful. I know of people pretty blatantly whose parents have pretty clear favoritism things going on, where they're going to just leave everything to one of their kids and not give their other kids anything. And I don't even think it's a situation where the other kid really truly did anything bad or hurt the parents in any way to deserve that kind of treatment. Our next story is, I'm 14 and my dad still slaps my butt. Throughout most of my life, my dad would playfully slap my butt, but as I grew older, I've gotten more uncomfortable with it. Am I being overdramatic? By the way, I'm a girl. Is 14 still an age where my dad can still do it? I've questioned my friends about it, and none of their dads do it to them. I get really uncomfortable, and recently my dad did it in public. I was so scared when people saw it because I'm uncomfortable when he does it at home, let alone in public where people can see. I really don't like it, but me and my dad have a good relationship and I don't want to make it weird. He is my favorite parent. Sorry, Mom, but it's so weird that he just slaps it. I don't think he means it in a weird way, but it is still weird to me. I think he thinks it's playful, but I don't know how you can slap your daughter's butt after she's already going through puberty. I'm also a pretty larger 14-year-old. I'm almost 5'8". He does it to my 10-year-old sister, but she's young enough where it's not really weird. What should I do? Is it weird or am I just the one overthinking it? Slapping my butt is the only weird thing he does to me, I think. So, if you feel weird about anybody touching you in any way, then yes, it is weird and it's wrong. It should go without saying, but it doesn't matter who it is. If anybody is touching you in a way that you're uncomfortable with, then it's inherently wrong. I think it would be almost weirder for OP not to bring it up and say that they're uncomfortable with this. Our next story is, am I the jerk for wanting no contact with my Christian helicopter parents? My parents are Christian. I learned from a young age I was not because they forced me to go to church youth, Christian preschool, Christian high school, and did never listen to my opinion. I started to resent my parents. I told them, for example, multiple times that I didn't like church and didn't feel a click with the other teens in the church youth because I didn't like religious people. They are all so soft and I cringe at that. We fought a lot when I was living at home. They never taught me and my other siblings about the birds and the bees or other life advice, only to pray, etc. When we were little, we couldn't watch certain kids' TV shows, Totally Spies, because the word totally sounded like deadly in my native language. They always forced me to do certain sports, but I never liked the people everywhere because I come from this small town where everyone is either a white farmer or a white Christian, not much academic peeps, and I never felt like I clicked with any of these people. When I told my parents this, they still forced me to go. My parents tried to be loving and, for example, yeeted my door open to say, "You know we still love you, right?" But I just didn't like their stubborn Christian personalities and I did not appreciate not being respected. So I decided that if they don't respect me, why would I respect them? Sometimes when I asked about their reasons for certain rules, they would reply, "Because you live under my roof. Because I'm the parent." Why can't you just explain it logically so I can understand? This made me lose even more respect for them. They were always criticizing other lifestyles. For example, they're against abortions. I'm pro-choice and even had an abortion which they don't know about. They're always interrogating me to see where they can correct me. I'm 27 and they're still trying to control me. I really don't have the need to see them anymore for a while. Am I a narcissist? So I mean, it's one thing for them to be hyper-religious and feel like that is the only way you should live your life, but when you're 27 years old and they're still trying to exert pressure over you and control the direction of your life, that's when you know they're really in the wrong there. And I don't think there was ever a kid growing up that loved particularly hearing, "Because I'm the parent" or "Because I said so," without any logical reason for them putting their foot down on whatever the subject was. Explain things, be logical to your kids. Help them understand why the world's working the way it is for them. Our next story is, update, adopted parents trying to take my baby. I had a wonderful, healthy baby girl. I cut my adopted parents out because why have them when they don't want what's best for me? I did let them meet her to save face around the holidays, but me and my baby are doing wonderful. She's extremely smart already. Thank you all for your previous advice on my last post. I understand having a baby at a young age is awful for everyone involved, but me and her dad are officially engaged, and we're doing great as well. I'm so happy this had a good ending, as opposed to us not having our little gremlin. So basically, OP's 16 years old and they were having a baby, and OP's adoptive parents started to get this impression that OP was going to give the custody rights to their parents and that they were going to take on and raise the baby as kind of their own. So I just wish OP the best, and I'm glad for OP's sake that things are working out the way they wanted to with their kid. Our next story is, entitled parent lies and uses me as an example to her kid. So in Ireland, we do a thing called transition year, TY for short, and it's a year in school where 15 or 16-year-olds do work experience rather than study for tests. So I, 16-year-old male, did my work experience in a childcare facility for a couple of weeks, and everyone was super nice, apart from one mother, around 29-year-old female. I had a suspicion that Siobhan didn't really like me that much, and I don't know why. She did small, passive-aggressive actions towards me, like refusing to talk to me unless absolutely necessary, even then she was rude, and go out of her way to make working harder for me. Until one day when she was collecting her daughter. While Siobhan was just about to leave the nursery, her daughter asked, "Mammy, why does OP have a hand like a crab? I'm slightly disabled in my left hand. I was born with no fingers but got 2 toes stitched onto it. I usually don't mind when kids ask this. They're very curious, and I just tell them that I was born with it, but it doesn't affect me in any way. I'm still OP." Anyway, after her daughter asked, Siobhan proudly/snarkily replies in a louder tone so I could hear it at the other end of the hallway, "That's because OP spent too long on his iPad and never ate his veggies," and shut the door of the facility. Unfortunately, it was my last day working, so I couldn't do much, but I did tell the manager the whole story. She already knew Siobhan didn't like me. I don't know what happened to Siobhan or if she got kicked out of the nursery. Hopefully she did though. Should they be reprimanded for that kind of behavior? Sure, absolutely. Does it maybe potentially promote still some slightly probably healthier things for the kid? Maybe. I mean, it is good for a kid not to spend too much time on the iPad and eat more veggies. It's absolutely not fair to OP to be used as some example like that though. Especially when it could have been such a valuable learning tool for this kid to see somebody with a disability like that and get taught that it's a very normal thing and to not judge or automatically assume weird things about somebody because of it. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.